by the Chamber. So really excited to be back again. For those of you who haven't met me virtually yet, as Dato said, I'm also the current ambassador to ASEAN. And I've been with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade for more than 20 years now, and spent almost all of my career working on Asia issues. So really happy to be here in KL. I just want to add my thanks to the Chamber for inviting me and Carissa along. I'm really keen just to hear the questions to get a sense of the kind of immigration concerns that you do have. I mean, we're aware that you do have concerns. This is a situation that changes every day, and we're trying to do our best to stay on top of this evolving situation. So really keen and really happy to have the team from MYXpats here along, and welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and right now I think it's turn to invite one of our very eloquent speakers who needs no introduction, the Deputy High Commissioner to Malaysia and New Zealand High Com, Carissa, to address you on the subject border settings in New Zealand. Over to you, Carissa.
Thank you, Dr. Wan. That's a very kind introduction. Thank you. So essentially, I'm just going to provide an overview of the current status in New Zealand, because there were quite a few questions, and I'll get to them later in the webinar, about how you enter New Zealand, what it looks like, and what's happening there. As the Ambassador said, there are changes daily to what is happening. So what I'm providing you today is a current state as at 2:11 p.m. KL time today, but do encourage you to keep actively looking at the immigration website, the health.gov.nz website. Those two websites are updated with the latest news, and also there's quite a lot that comes out on media channels. So as you all may know, New Zealand is still under alert level 1. So what that means is that there are still restrictions at the border. Only New Zealanders, New Zealand permanent residents and family of New Zealanders and New Zealand PR holders are allowed into New Zealand currently. There are also a few other categories like Australians who are usually resident in New Zealand, some Pacific Islands, and exemptions for health workers. Currently, when you arrive in New Zealand, there are 14 days of isolation to go through. So there are 2 different types of facilities that the government is managing. One is a quarantine facility. So that is if you come off the plane, you exhibit COVID-19 symptoms, you'll go straight away to this quarantine facility. Or if you come and you get a positive result at the airport because of those symptoms, you'll go straight to the quarantine facility. The second one, which is the one that is probably where most people end up and has been on the news a lot lately, are the managed isolation facilities. So those are the hotels where people are going, they hop off the plane, they exhibit no symptoms of COVID-19, and they go straight on the bus and go to a hotel. When you arrive at the hotel, you're given a COVID-19 test at the hotel, and then you're asked to stay in self-isolation for 14 days. You are allowed to go outside for a walk, but that is all that you are allowed to do. You are allowed to have friends and family deliver food and care packages, but they can't come into the room with you. You may have seen, some of you, that those managed isolation facilities, so the hotels, are getting very full at the moment, and the government has had to make some changes to respond to the fact that a lot of New Zealanders and PRs have started to return to overseas, and those facilities are currently at maximum capacity. So I guess the key ones for you to note are that no longer are those managed isolation facilities just in Auckland, but they're also in other parts of New Zealand. So Rotorua, Hamilton, Queenstown and Christchurch, as well as Wellington, have received people who are in isolation at hotels. And the second big one was the announcement today that Air New Zealand have been asked not to book any new arrivals for the next 3 weeks on international flights. So essentially what the government is trying to do is just turn off the tap, the pipeline a little bit, to stop the flow of people coming back in while they triage the people who are currently in facilities. At the moment, we only have news that it's Air New Zealand who has been asked to do this, but we understand that other airlines might also be asked, and I'll get onto that later with some of the questions of how that might affect some of you who have travel planned. So there's currently no cost to quarantine. You turn up and you go into quarantine and the government covers that. There are some exemptions from managed isolation. That's if you don't have COVID-19 symptoms and you've tested negative on the first test. So that's for people who are transiting, don't have to go into quarantine. And if you have medical or physical needs, which mean that the accommodation is not appropriate for you. Compassionate exemptions are currently suspended. So for those New Zealanders who are going back to New Zealand because a loved one has fallen sick or passed away, or another situation, unfortunately, compassionate exemptions aren't currently being considered, but you can approach Immigration New Zealand to ask about that. So that was just a short overview of the current settings at the border, and I think more will come up in the questions, Dato.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a very insightful of the situation in New Zealand. I think there could be some similarities. I think we leave to the experts later on from the MYXpats to talk about this. Okay, before I start on, I think we will give a quick intro about the first speaker from the MYXpats. Kek Ming has been at the forefront of the MYXpats Talent Service Center Malaysia since 2012. His responsibilities include the facilitation of employment pass and all other related passes through the Expatriate Services Division, in short we call ESD, and Resident Pass Talent RP10 program, which are part and parcel of the Malaysia economic growth to facilitate the investors from overseas. Now, he is also responsible on the setting up the MYXpats Center, a collaboration between Talent Corporation Berhad with Immigration Department Malaysia and overseen by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, I think let's pass the mic over to Kek Ming and the team. Before that, I also want to give you a short intro about this Sabiha binti Ahmad. She's currently heading the MYXpats Center operation, focusing on achieving operation service excellence and the delivery of expatriate services to ensure quality services are delivered to all stakeholders. I think with her, I thought she's very young, her 20 years of experience, including interfacing with the government agencies and industries across all key sectors in the country for the facilitation of employment pass and all the other related passes through the ESD division and the RPT program, collaborating with the Immigration Department Malaysia, overseen by similar Ministry of Home Affairs. She also part of the pre-opening team of MYXpats Center in 2015. Okay, I think with this, we will pass over the floor to the team. They might want to speak about the current Malaysian SOPs or the rules and regulations. All right, over to you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Dato, and thank you to Carissa and also Pam, for having us. Today, we are actually very happy to share with you some of the latest development and also progress about the current situation. All right. Okay. We are going to start to share the screen with you for those who might not aware about the information that we have been actually putting in the website. Okay, so there are two actually information, okay, in the two platforms. One is for those who are holding employment pass, all right, and also professional visit pass, and the other platform is for RPT resident pass talent. Okay, so there are two separate websites. The first one, okay, the information is the same actually. If you go into RPT website, the information is the same as ESD, that which actually the similar process in terms of guidelines and the SOP in applying your entry into Malaysia. All right, so we will be focusing on ESD website only. Okay, so you will see the same information in RPT website. Okay, later. Okay, Yasmin. Start to share the screen.
So we will start to share the screen right now, so that the audience is able to understand, first of all, which website to go to in order to view the latest SOP and guideline, which has been approved and reviewed by Immigration Department of Malaysia.
Okay. Basically, the company is quite familiar with this website. Okay, so if you go into esd.imi.gov.my, you will see this screen. All right. Normally, we will pop up the letters information before you can log into the system. So the company will have access to log into the system, but you can just, you know, at the land page, you will see this pop up. Okay, so you just click read more. All right, this is latest update as of 24th June on the entry permission for expatriates with an active pass and approved applications who are abroad, as announced by the Malaysian government, recently on the 19th June. All right, for your information, whatever the statement or the guidelines that we have actually shared here has been approved by immigration, like what Kiatman shared just now, and also has been guided by the Ministry of Health. Right, just to share with you, they are having a task force meeting almost on daily basis to discuss on the latest progress and also whether they want to get it lenient to our expatriates who is stranded abroad, or for those who are applying their application. Okay, so as you know that our MCO has started since March, 18th of March, then that is where the problems comes, and also at the same time immigration has closed down their operation and they started to resume on the 6th of May, right? So the company is very much aware about making appointment. Okay, now immigration has set a rule whereby no walk-in is allowed to immigration office as well as to MYXpats center. Okay, so that one is actually applied through the system. It's actually the company has to log into the system, and it's called My Health. And for those who needs the information, it is actually here. Okay, so there are a few points here. The first thing is about the announcement that we have updated, the SOP and guidelines based on the advice by immigration as well as by the Ministry of Health. And also some links that we have shared, for example, like point number 3. Okay, this is quite detailed information, guideline for entry of expatriates. But I'm not going to go into this detail because it will get confused to everyone, because there are a few scenarios that you need to read through and understand. If for the company, they might understand, but for the individuals like expatriates himself, you will get, you know, some hiccup when you want to, you know, go and apply for your application. Yeah. So what I'm going to brief you is actually a summary, the needs of the expatriates, or who are they that can enter into Malaysia. Okay. So if you scroll down, as shared in the screen, you go straight to Appendix A. It's a summary of everything. All right. Okay. Entry permission for expatriates with an active and approved application who are abroad. Okay. Basically, okay, the first statement came out from the government is Malaysia is not opening up the border yet. Okay, that is the first general statement. Okay, no one from outside can enter Malaysia. In fact, our Malaysian has to get permission, you know, from immigration, and including of expatriates who actually is holding an active pass. Okay, but they went out before the MCO or during the MCO, but they are not able to come in. All right, there are a few groups actually that fall under each numbers. Okay, if we go to number 1, these are for the expatriates, including resident pass talent holders. Okay, so the meaning of active pass, meaning even you are abroad, but you are still holding an employment pass with an active pass duration, it's still valid. So actually you can just come in. But in this current situation, you have to meet certain criteria, including the RPT. Okay, if you go to the first box, EP1. EP1 is actually for those, if you are not aware about what is EP1, EP2, and EP3, EP1 is by the salary and also by the duration. All right, this actually been approved by the expatriate committee. Okay, and the indicator can be seen actually in the sticker. The sticker is stamped in their passport. If you see the sticker, you will see whether you are employment pass category 1, 2, or 3. Okay, so this one is specifically for EP category 1, together with resident pass talent, dependents and foreign maid. Whether do you need to get a permission from the DG of Immigration to enter Malaysia, to come back to Malaysia? Okay, this one government has give a leniency for them to come back without requesting permission from the immigration, but with the condition that you are the nationality of these 4 countries, Australia, Brunei, New Zealand, and Singapore, and you are from that particular country. For example, you are Australia, okay, you are stranded in Australia, so you can come in without getting a permission from the immigration. Okay, and the second box, the PCR COVID-19 swab test. Okay, this one is a must to everyone. Okay, there's no exemption to it. Okay, some of the questions that we received that they would like to have a swab test when they arrive into Malaysia. That is not possible because it is actually part of the process by the Ministry of Health in Malaysia to conduct another test of swab, the PCR COVID. However, there are a few type of health screening that will be done, yeah, during arrival. Yeah. But the first thing, all expatriates and resident pass talent holders, dependents and foreign maids has to go through the swab test. The PCR, they name it as PCR COVID-19 swab test from their country where they are 3 days before the departure. Okay, so the result has to be negative. Let's say you have taken the test, 5 days before your departure, that is not considered a valid result. So please make sure that before departure, you have to find out the time of you have to book the flight within that 3 days and get the test within that 3 days before your departure from the country, the respective country. Okay. And okay, this one is actually advised by Ministry of Health to install and download My Sejahtera apps. Okay, you can download this from your mobile, and this is actually, they actually strongly advise you to download this app before your departure into Malaysia. Meaning when you are at the airport, for example, from New Zealand, all right, download the apps first, then only you take on board, okay, be in the flight. You know why? What happened? Because they are facing actually lots of hiccups when they try to install the application when they arrive into Malaysia at the airport, because there are too many movements and too many people trying to go into the apps at the same time. Okay, the next one is medical health screening. Okay, the advice that we received from the Ministry of Health, this screening, which is actually referring to the PCR COVID-19, will be done another round at Malaysian airport. So meaning you will have one by your own at your country before the departure, 3 days, and another round of health screening. So the decision on what kind of test that you will go through will be decided by the Ministry of Health. Okay. Before this, all the tests, the swab tests that been done in Malaysia is considered as covered by the government of Malaysia. But we received the latest information by Ministry of Health. The swab test in Malaysia will be charged. So the cost will be borne by the applicant. The charge will be decided by the Ministry of Health at the airport, but the highest amount is 250 ringgit, if I'm not mistaken. The maximum test. But there are three types of tests actually. One is to test on polymerase, 2 is antigen, and 1 is antibody. So Ministry of Health will decide and advise, yeah, which test you will go for this. Okay, but I cannot share the announcement because this is internal information by Ministry of Health to all the government stakeholders. So this, I think, is good if you can directly to contact Ministry of Health and find out more about this information. Yeah. Okay, the self-quarantine for 14 days. Okay, this is the difference actually between EP1 and resident pass RPT holders dependent on foreign med from the green zone countries and from other green zone countries. If you notice from the first box, permission from immigration for EP1 and RPT holders, dependents and foreign meds from other than green countries, you are also exempted to get permission from the immigration, but you have to go through the self-quarantine for 14 days. Okay, so this is the difference between from green zone countries, the first box, the first column, yeah, and the second one. So that's the difference. Okay, when you has to go through this self-quarantine for 14 days, Ministry of Health will actually give you a kit. Okay, the person has to wear some sort like a wristband. That is why they are actually asking you to install the MySejahtera apps, because that apps will track the person. So the wristband will be removed when you comply the 14 days self-quarantine. Okay, but we are not listing it here because it's quite actually detailed in terms of the accessories, okay, that you need to comply with. So at the airport you will know. Okay, we leave it to Ministry of Health to decide in what type of kits that you will be worn during arrival. All right. Okay, the next one is for EP2, Employment Pass Category 2 and Employment Pass Category 3, dependents and foreign maids. Okay, this part, this category has to get permission from the immigration. How to do that? Okay, the company for EP2 and EP3 will first to approach your approving agency or your regulatory agency, okay, to get a support letter. Because, okay, for this entry permission, is actually still, they are focusing for the key post and technical post group. Okay, if your post, okay, for example, not so critical during this time, you might receive a rejection. Yeah, for example, the school has not started, okay, teachers are still not around, okay, and the kids are still not at school. So immigration will take it that is non-critical needs for the person to come back during this period. Okay, right. Okay, so this is quite straightforward actually for EP2 and EP3. They have to get the permission from immigration. The rest, the additional information about this EP2 and EP3, let me just check. Okay, for example, the situation that you are abroad, okay, when you go out from Malaysia, your pass is still active, but your pass has expired when you are at your country, for example. Okay, so the rule of thumb for these people to come back, you must have either an active pass or approved application. In a scenario, if your pass has expired, okay, for example, for EP2, what do you need is to get the company to renew your application, get it approved from the Expatriate Committee, then to apply for permission to entry. So there will be 2 letters, 2 approval required, okay, in order for you to come in. For any countries that require a visa, then you have to approach our Malaysian embassy in that respective country to come back. Okay, for those who are not required, you can just bring these 2 letters. Right. Okay, the next one is professional visit pass. Okay, this professional visit pass is a short-term pass where they are actually assigned by companies abroad to be in Malaysia to complete an assignment, for example, especially is for manufacturing sector. Okay, manufacturing sector, okay, during this period, normally, you know, it's closed and they have machines, okay, to fix. They have machines to fix. So they need to get these experts to come in as soon as possible so they can, you know, run back the business. Okay, there are 2 types of professional visit pass. The pass name is still the same. However, the urgency, okay, these are two different. One for emergency work means the person has to be in Malaysia within 1 week and fix the machine and go back after 2 weeks. Okay, this one immigration will prioritize. Okay, you still need to get the permission from immigration and go through all the processes like swab test and all, but there will be no requirement for the person to go through for self-quarantine for 14 days. The other group is still a technical expert, okay, can come in, get a permission from the immigration, and you will still go through the quarantine for 14 days. Okay, the last one is for long-term social visit pass. Okay, this actually refers to the your extended family. Yeah, extended family. For example, like your parents, your children above 18 years old. That whole long-term social visit pass is actually can be seen in the sticker. Okay, for this one, permission from immigration is still required. All right, and this is actually a 50-50 decision from immigration. I have to be frank because it has to be a very valid reason when they would like to come in. Yeah, so we get the immigration to review because the purpose and the objective of doing this is actually to control the number of people coming into our country, so that they can control the COVID,
break the chain.
Yeah, to break the chain. Okay, additional information, Captain, would you like to comment? Okay, the next one, the next page is actually a summary when you arrive into Malaysia. So what do you need to do? It's just a summary actually from the contents that I explained just now. And also the third page is about what to bring, okay, when you are at the airport. Okay, only 3 access entry points that is currently allowed by immigration. One, you have to come in through Kuala Lumpur International Airport, or if you are from Singapore, for example, the entry point will be immigration checkpoint, Sultan Iskandar building in Johor. And also another entry is also in Johor, which is Sultan Abu Bakar complex, the second link. You can get the details from the guidelines actually. We explained it in quite detail actually in there. And also additional points for those who would like to bring in the mates, the foreign mates, they have to travel together with the principal or the spouse. They cannot come in alone. For example, the foreign maid has been given with the approval and she would like to enter alone. That is not allowed. It has to come together either with the dependents or with the principal or the whole family. All right? Okay.
So just to add on what Sabiha have briefed everyone here in this session, again, a quick recap. Entry permission of the expatriates coming into Malaysia, this would be the official website. And we also advise individuals or anyone not to refer to any other website, because our website would be should be the direct source and the main source of information, because these guidelines and these SOPs and updates has been approved by Immigration Department of Malaysia under the purview of Ministry of Home Affairs, together with Malaysia Expatriate Talent Service Center or MYXpats. Should there be any request for clarification? Of course, the respective companies or individual may also contact us at MYXpats Center. We have a help desk here. If you click about us, there's a contact us, and on the right side you will see MYXpats Center, and this is our help desk email address, where we will respond to you within 48 hours. The earliest will be within the same day itself if the volume is not that high. But do check out the latest news and announcement in the in this website alone, because we have spent a lot of time and effort to ensure that information are accurate, information are up to date for the ease of everyone's reference. A little bit to touch on the expatriate for guidelines for employment pass category 2, 3, including their dependents and their foreign mates. If you click on this, you will see the guidelines for entry of expatriates, skilled workers, together with scenarios. For example, expatriates with an active pass who is currently stranded abroad. If you are an EP1 holder, if you are a RPT holder, if you are the dependent and foreign mate to the EP1 holder and RPT holder, this would be the procedures for you to comply with prior to entry into Malaysia. If you scroll down a little bit, if you are a new expatriate who is currently abroad, meaning company A would want to hire you to come into Malaysia to work. You have not been to Malaysia, you do not have a employment pass or work permit yet, but the new company may apply for your employment pass through the online system. Once the approval has been given, only then with the approval letter from the expatriate committee can be used to be sent to the Director General of Immigration to get the entry permission into the country. And similarly for scenario number 3, if the expatriate has an active pass who is currently stranded abroad for employment pass category 2 and category 3, including their dependents and maid and their parents, parent-in-law, what are the procedures? How do you apply to enter Malaysia? The scenarios and the procedures are all here in this guidelines. So we won't go through each and every scenario and to detail, but we will answer to some of the questions that was posted earlier on to MNZCC, the chamber, so that we can tackle those top questions first.
Okay. I think thank you, MYX team. I think we have a very detailed overview and also the detailed SOP we just heard, right? I think we have a lot of burning questions came in, right? I think right now, let me pose a questions from the floor that we received. The situation, I read out her Alkania. She has worked with the valid and the EP2 pass for 2 years and had her contract renewed with the international school and continue work in Malaysia. Now, I think she also applied the next EP pass, which has currently been a process, okay? And that I suppose take some time to come in. I think her problem now is, I think her family members, her husband and her 2 children has left for New Zealand just before the MCO, I think on the 4th March, okay? And now, I think because of the control, and they are not be able to return to Malaysia. And I think if she goes to New Zealand, I think the tendency is she might also lose her job and all that. So the question she raised is, how can she be united with her family? And what sort of advice that she needs to have to stay in Malaysia and continue to rebuild the economy and teaching children and all that. So what do you recommend, I think, the action to be taken by her now? I think this one, we're going to pass it to the MYXpats team.
Yeah, okay, I will answer to this question. Thank you, Dato. Okay, for this one, as I briefed earlier, that EP2 has to get an entry permission from the immigration that she has did actually. She has done that. She has applied. However, she has applied for, I think, a few times. And at this moment, just to be frank with you, the current process and also the charter has actually stated in the guideline, if there's no feedback received within 14 working days, the application is considered rejected. Okay. However, looking at this current situation and the progress and also the positive development about the current situation in Malaysia, I would suggest for this person to reapply with immigration okay, send your request to pbf@imi.gov.my, which you can refer to the guideline, all right, and attach the supporting documents, for example, like the flight ticket, you know, the current pass for your family, yeah, in that email. And once you have done that, all right, please email to me. Okay, forward the email to me, and I will monitor the request and try to speak with immigration to take up this application as a priority. All right?
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, Dato, can I, okay, if they can forward to you, and can you please forward that to me, the email?
Yes, let me check it out. Then
Okay.
we will do that later.
Yeah.
So this one can be done through you directly. Okay. 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 Great. Okay. I think we have a lot of other questions. I think the one coming out next is when contacting the Malaysia High Com, Wellington, New Zealand, they stated the email to hold on. I think this person get confused. Either it's kpi@imi.government.my or ppf@imi.government.my. So which is the correct one?
Yep.
I
yes, correct.
I believe the PPF is the correct login email. Okay.
So perhaps there's some confusion, but in the guidelines it is very clearly stated that any entry permission is to be sent to the email address of pbf@imi.gov.my. The request for entry permission is to be made with the Director General of Immigration Department of Malaysia through this email address, pbf@imi.gov.my. This has also been announced in the ESD website, as I mentioned, dated 24th of June, the one that we shared screen and shown earlier on. And however, company may also CC copy kpi@imi.gov.my, because that is the Director General's direct email address. But however, it is not necessary.
Yeah. At first, the announcement actually, the email address was kpi@imi.gov.my. Okay, but after some times, then they have diverted the email address to PBF. So please email to pbf@imi.gov.my.
Okay. Look like you also need to update the email address.
We did.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay, I think that's simple. I think we have another one coming in is, why are there different quarantine requirements depending on what visa type the applicant has or the visa type of which the dependence is linked to?
Yeah, I've shared the first screen about from green zone countries and other than green zone countries. So that are actually the two different. One, from green zone countries, there is no requirement to go through for self-quarantine. And for other than green zone countries, we'll need to go through 14 days self-quarantine.
Okay.
And this is actually advised by the Ministry of Health. Yeah.
Okay. I think this one is fresh from the floor. I think just now we mentioned some of the COVID text that we need to do. So there's one question raised is, can the COVID test be done in New Zealand before leaving the country before they come into Malaysia?
3 days.
Yeah. All expatriates prior to entry into the country, into Malaysia, must undergo COVID-19 test abroad. Before they enter the country. The result of the test has to be within 3 days before their departure date. For example, if this Friday I will be coming into Malaysia, my flight is going to land in Malaysia this Friday. By today, the result should be dated today with a negative result, which is 3 days before Friday.
72 hours before the.
Dato, can I just add to that as well?
Okay.
A bit of feedback that we've gotten from New Zealanders who have recently entered Malaysia, and also people from Australia, is that the Ministry of Health expectation is that the information that you have is that it's a lab report. So a doctor's certificate or a doctor's letter, or sometimes in New Zealand we even get a text message to say that we're negative. We've got a negative result, will not suffice. So for those who are listening from New Zealand who need to get a COVID-19 test, PCR test, please make sure that you try and get the lab report printed out before you come. I know that that's a bit tricky. There are some GPs in New Zealand, because our system is so electronic, for which that is difficult, but I think that's a very important part of the process. There's also a difference in New Zealand between COVID-19 tests that you pay for, which is when you're asymptomatic, and then COVID-19 tests that you don't pay for, which is when you're experiencing symptoms in New Zealand. Again, it's best to contact your local DHB or GP, who should have that information in New Zealand.
Okay, I think great. I think that clarified the issues and all that. Okay, the next question that we have here is, does one audience refer to a document supply at the ESD.immigration.gov 24th of June, that it references support letter from the relevant approving agencies or regulatory body, and yet the reference list is not included anywhere on how to contact these bodies and what the names are and where is it? I think this one we need the MYXpats team to take on this question.
Let me just share screen again so that we can show. If you go to ESD website, this is the ESD website, and under announcement, there's this announcement on the 10th of June. If you click on it, there is the guidelines for full reference. To obtain a supporting letter, please refer here for list of approving agencies and regulatory body. So if you fall under education sector, you will be able to see the email address of the respective regulatory body or government agent approving agency, their email address, and how this is where you can send an email to obtain the supporting letter. If you are from the construction sector, for example, under bullet number 6, then the email should be sent to the Construction Industry Development Board or CIDB, and this would be the email address. Similarly, with the rest of the sector, E&E sector, send an email to MIDA. For logistics, it is not there is no regulatory body. So if the company doesn't fall under regulatory body, then the supporting letter can be skipped. You do not need to then apply for a supporting letter, but the rest of the guidelines and SOPs will then be applicable.
Yeah, that is quite clearly stated on your website details and all that, right?
Yes, it is
on the
already
guideline of the entry provision supporting letter.
Correct.
Okay.
So again, I'll just do a screen here. This would be the website, esd.imi.gov.my. Go to latest news announcement. There is an announcement made on the 10th of June. If you click read more, then the list of supporting letter, supporting regulatory body and approving agencies are all here.
Okay, that's great. I think that clarifies. Okay, great. I think now let's turn the table. We have one question for the New Zealand High Commission side now. This person is Malaysian, and he has a PR in NZ, and he runs a business in NZ. Right now, he's actually home in NZ. So his question is, I might need to return to NZ for business purposes, and he understands there's a need to adhere to the 14 days quarantine law. How regular are flights back to KL and NZ? As he need to plan upon his return. So I think he's asking for the procedure and quarantine and COVID swab and any other qualifications or clarifications on the on this situation here.
Sure, thank you, Dato', and thank you for the question. So in terms of the communication channels that the New Zealand High Commission uses, we do semi-regular updates on things like any changes to entry in New Zealand, some flight routes as they are updated. So the three main ways that we communicate with New Zealanders are one, Facebook. So we have a Facebook page called the New Zealand High Commission in Kuala Lumpur. Even if you're not a Facebook user, you can still access the information on this page. So you just Google New Zealand High Commission in Kuala Lumpur. Facebook, and you'll be able to see our posts and our updates there. Secondarily, we send out what are called safe travel emails. So you can register for these emails on the site called www.safetravel.govt.nz. It's really important when you register that you put down that your destination is Malaysia, so that you receive the emails that are specific to Malaysia. And basically, this is a system that we also use to send out updates. Thirdly, through our webpage. So if you type in again the New Zealand High Commission in Kuala Lumpur, it will come up with a web page that's linked to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and we also put updates there. So just to the person listening, if you want to get those regular updates, that's a good way to do it. So we understand that there are currently flight routes home via Qatar, South Korea, Hong Kong, as well as some direct flights through Malaysia Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
However, given the news that I've just said about Air New Zealand having to suspend international bookings for the next 3 weeks, some of those flight routes might be affected. So, for example, the flight from Hong Kong to Auckland is a Air New Zealand flight. So it means that no bookings will be able to be taken on that. We also sent out an email yesterday and put up on our website that Japan is possibly a route home. So we're starting to see more regular routes home to New Zealand, in addition to Malaysia Airlines now reinstating their direct flights from KL to Auckland. So in addition to the information that we send out, we encourage keeping up to date with those particular airlines, as well as using a travel agent if you can. The great thing about a travel agent is actually in this, for some of these flights, you have to have booked through a travel agent to get a full ticket all the way through. You can't book directly on Skyscanner or directly on the airlines, and that's for transit reasons, for example, through Hong Kong. So using a travel agent might be a good choice for some people. Yes, you will currently have to quarantine or self-isolate for 14 days in New Zealand. I think I mentioned before that if you're exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms upon arrival in Auckland Airport or another airport, you will be given a test there and then, and that's the swab test, the PCR test, which is done through the nose. Otherwise, you are tested regularly throughout your stay at either the managed isolation facility or the quarantine facility. And I think we've answered upon the return by saying that you have to have a COVID test within 72 hours of departure from New Zealand. So essentially, there's testing and quarantine in place on both sides, with a few exceptions, which the MYXpat team already talked about.
Hey, Carissa, very impressive. I thought you only answered the question on quarantine, but didn't realize you're so well informed on the airlines, flights, and detail. Very impressive.
Oh, thank you, Dato. I must say it's not actually me, but the committed, hardworking team that we have at the High Commission. We're small, but perfectly formed, and they do a great job at keeping up to date with everything that's going on. So shout out to the consular team and the broader team at the New Zealand High Commission who try and keep across these things.
I think you give more answers than what this guy expected, I think. Great. Okay, let's move on to the next questions. On the 7th July, I asked about visas, and can we have our visa changed from working visa to tourist visa during this RMCO period with no penalty? I think this one, we need to pose this question to the MYXpats team. Kemi?
Thank you for the question. And for employment pass holder, regardless which category, whether you are category 1, 2, or 3, the company the company may cancel or shorten the current employment pass of the expatriate in order for them to leave the country. They can request for an appointment through the ESD online system for this cancellation purpose. So if the company is registered in the ESD online system and they wish to cancel or shorten their expatriate's employment pass, all they need to do is log into the ESD online system. There's a button called My Help Appointment, MYHELP, My Help Appointment. Click on that button make an appointment and upload the relevant documents, and the process of cancellation will be done through the appointment system.
Great, Kevin, thank you very much.
By the way, just to add on, any appointment made through the online system, once approved and confirmed by MYXpats Center, assuming the appointment is confirmed this Friday at 9 o'clock morning, when the company representative comes to MYXpats Center on Friday at 9 o'clock morning, the transaction will be completed within 1 hour.
Okay, thank you, Kemi. Okay, coming next, I think we have a very, very important question here. I look at it. Expats are allowed to leave Malaysia for emergency or medical treatment. So if this person were to leave Malaysia, what is the process for returning to Malaysia? Okay, and he also raised Malaysia, Singapore, I look at travel bubble. Will this allow expats and Malaysians to holiday in Singapore? And when is it likely to happen? I think this one can be posed to MYXpats, Sabia.
Yeah. Okay, for this one, the first question, expats are allowed to leave Malaysia for emergency. So if you leave Malaysia, what is the process for returning? Okay, at this moment, Malaysians are still not allowed, okay, to exit from Singapore or enter Malaysia. And we are still waiting for the government to announce the latest update. Travel bubble, okay, this is still pending, okay, because looking at the travel bubble is to have an agreement between the government of that particular country and also another country, their government, to allow expatriates or any foreigners to travel within that countries. At this moment, Malaysia is still treating as a closed border country. Okay.
Okay, great. I think we still have a couple of questions. Now, actually, we are running about 3 p.m. Maybe we'll extend by another 10-15 minutes to have a few more questions. Are the panelists okay with it? Okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay, the next question is, we have this person asked, as of today, the Malaysian government law is having a New Zealand working in Kuala Lumpur under category employment pass 1 holder allowed to leave Malaysia to return back for a home visit to Auckland. New Zealand then be allowed to return back to re-entry into Malaysia. And if yes, what are the quarantine COVID tests and the New Zealander must follow in order to meet the Malaysian immigration re-entry rules? I think just now you answered some of those. Maybe you just want to do a quick summary on this.
Yes, again, just to summarize, and generally speaking, any expatriate who are currently in Malaysia may exit Malaysia from the country to abroad. Yeah, for example, you are now in Malaysia, you wish to exit the country. However, to comply with the SOP and guidelines set by the Malaysian government through the Immigration Department of Malaysia, which we have shared earlier on in the earlier screen and guidelines, if they wish to return back to Malaysia. So again, if you are now in Malaysia, any expatriates may exit the country regardless if their pass is still active, their pass have expired, but they must leave within 14 days after the MCO has been lifted. So example, if the Malaysian government announced that by end of this month, by end of July, MCO will be lifted. So that means from the 1st to the 14th of August, the expatriate can leave the country without having the worry of overstaying in the country. My pass have expired. Do I need to pay for any penalty and so forth?
Okay. I thought the RMCO is actually supposed to be end 31st August.
Depending until the announcement is made, an official announcement is made by the government, MCO still continues as of
okay.
today.
I think this is another question I think you might have covered before. I think with the uncertainty of the current COVID cases, do you believe it's a risk for New Zealander working in Kuala Lumpur under category employment pass 1 holder to leave the country to find out that when they re-enter Malaysia, they might find it they are not allowed to come into Malaysia?
I think at this point of time and current stage, the global pandemic, the flexibility to leave the country is still allowed by the Malaysian government, although it is not encouraged, right? Similarly, interstate travel is now open up, but it is still not encouraged for you to travel in interstate if there is no urgency or important matters. An individual, of course, will need to decide on their own travel decision on how urgent or important it is in terms of their travel. We can't comment on the level of risk because we wouldn't be able to comment on that, but they are allowed to exit and travel if they wish to.
Okay, thank you. I think there's one. I think we will have the New Zealand High Commission to take on this. If a New Zealander who is a Malaysian PR wants to travel to NZ, do they need permission from Malaysian immigration to leave and return? If so, how to get this permission? Can I repeat that question? If a New Zealander who is a Malaysian PR wants to travel to NZ, do they need permission from the Malaysian immigration to leave and return? If so, how do they get this permission? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, the answer is
Thanks. So as far as we understand, if you're traveling on a New Zealand passport and you entered on a New Zealand passport, then you don't need permission to depart.
Oh, okay. So that's
but my expat team there is just wanting to say
if
something.
If you are PR holders in Malaysia, okay, based on the information, the latest information, because even in Malaysia needs to get a permission to leave the country. So same goes to PR holders.
Okay.
That is the,
thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, and where does one go to get that information? Is it MYXpats, your website again?
No, this one is actually under the different division, but I have checked with the Director of Immigration on that particular division.
Thank you.
To confirm on PR holder. So it's the same treatment for Malaysia.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that clarifies. Okay. Okay, I think we try to take on one last questions. Now that this person wrote in has said his visa expired, are they allowed to go, this is actually a Sarawak case, allowed to go to Sarawak as he has a business there. Now, and he needs to renew his visa first so as to enter Sarawak. Because Sarawak, you need a different passport to go in. And should he go about renewing his visa, it seems that the immigration services in Putrajaya wasn't even sure about this policy. He purposely went to Putrajaya to consult them on this, and the immigration said that he can apply to have the visa renewed, but then he would be for a month to come in, and there's no guarantee he will get it. So the problem now is, if he is allowed to stay in Malaysia until end August, why would he need to renew his visa for only a month? And if he doesn't get his visa renewed, then he will have a problem entering Sarawak. So what is the advice from the immigration side?
All right. Before that, looks like we are more immigration than then.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
No, I think, Sarah, maybe you want to explain a bit about West Malaysian even traveling to Sarawak and Sabah. What are the bit of restrictions? I think that might help to answer the question.
Okay, looking at the scenario now, number one, the issue is visa has expired. Okay, that is the problem segment,
yes.
The main problem segment. Okay, the person is currently overstayed without any pass in Malaysia, regardless whether you are in East Malaysia, East Malaysia or West Malaysia. Okay, the first thing actually the person needs to do is to renew the visa, regardless where you are at.
Okay.
Okay, in this current situation, because here I do not sure whether he applied his visa, I mean referring to employment pass in Sarawak or in Semenanjung. Okay, that is the first thing that we need to confirm. If you are in Semenanjung and your pass has expired here, the company is responsible to apply the renewal. That is the main thing to do. before you travel to anywhere. Okay, if the visa is actually endorsed at Sarawak, okay, in Sarawak, then the first thing, because he needs to travel to Sarawak, he still needs to apply a pass. All right.
Yes. Yes.
Something that to make him stay Malaysian. Okay, valid. Okay, with a valid pass in Malaysia. That is rule number one. Whether you like it or not, you cannot be overstay in the country. All right, because immigration is open, so please go and apply the necessary pass. That is number one. If let's say the pass is endorsed in Sarawak previously, apply a special pass so that he can travel. Okay, the rule in Sarawak government, as we all know, they have their own regulation. All right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, so I'm going to share the screen now, whereby the person who would like to travel, whether you are Malaysian or you are non-Malaysian, must get an entry permission still, though you are traveling to Sarawak. Okay, I'm going to share the screen now so that you can refer to this website to apply for the entry permission. They call it disaster, what is the disaster name? Yeah, here. Okay, if you see this screen, okay, refer to this one. You click here. Okay, now you can choose based on your purpose.
And the Sarawak.
Yes. So they have their own team to review the application, whether you are allowed to travel to Sarawak. Okay, but the main thing, the most important, is the person need to apply the necessary pass in order for you to stay longer in Malaysia. Okay, you cannot be overstaying in Malaysia. So Dato', I would advise the person who asked this question, if they can email to our help desk and give more detail about the current situation, especially the current pass, the name of the person, if they are working with this particular company, please also share with us so that we can check further and advise the person. Yeah.
Okay. Right. All right. Just doing a time check, I think we have actually slightly overrun about 15 minutes. And just in case we didn't manage to pick up all the questions in view of the time constraint, I believe you can forward the question to our chamber, to the executive communication. The email address will be communications@mnzcc.org.my. I repeat, communications@mnzcc.org.my. And I believe that our secretary will be able to direct the question to MYXpats and all that for explanations and all that. Okay. Again, I would like to thank all the panelists for spending the afternoon with us. And also we want to thank all the participants who are with us, and a heartfelt thanks and appreciation to the speakers and who have provided very useful insights on the traveling activities and information related to immigration. I think special thanks would like to go to the Acting High Commissioner Pam and the Deputy Carissa to be with us, and of course not forgetting our fantastic speakers from MYXpats, Katming and Sabiha. Thank you very much. And we look forward to see you all again the next occasion. And to all our members, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dato'. Thank you for moderating.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Dato'.
Thank you.
Thank you.